Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Wednesday, April 10th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, see how they ultimately ended up turning out. Then after that, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about the weather for the main slate for today. I believe it's a 7-game main slate in total. And then after that, we'll get moved over to FanDuel, talk about my core picks. It's going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past history versus their respective opponent and recent history as well. And then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet, which is up on the Sports Affiliation website. So definitely be sure to check that out and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So at the pitcher position, we went with Nathan Eovaldi, who's $9,500, got 38 points. Did give him a push. Typically a pitcher we're looking for 40 points out of him. He ended up being the 5th pitcher on the day. Unfortunately, he pitched 5 2/3 innings. If he pitched that extra out, he gets the quality start and he's up over 40 points, and then he would be considered a hit. And then they also didn't win that game. They lost it late on like a Shea Langeliers home run. I'm not sure if he would have got the winner or not in that case. But, if he gets the quality start, if he gets the wins, he would have been a much better play, probably getting us, right around 48 points or so. But at the same time, with all that being said, he still was not a bad pitcher whatsoever. Then at first base, we went with Christian Walker, $4,200, got 12.5 points. So I did ultimately end up giving him a hit. He was kind of on that borderline push hit territory, kind of like Nathan Eovaldi as well. And then at shortstop, we had Anthony Volpe, $3,100. He went over yesterday, so he ended up with 0 points. So he unfortunately was a mess after his long hot streak to start the season. And then in the outfield, we had Mitch Haniger, $2,800. Hit another home run versus Chris Bassett yesterday, so 25.2 points is what he ended up with. He was a really good hit. And then MJ Melendez continued his little hot streak. $2,900, got to 15 points, so he was a hit as well. So pretty solid day all around. We had 3 hits. We had the one push that you could argue was a hit either way as well, and kind of just the one offer with Anthony Volpe. If you had some other decent plays in your lineup, had a pretty easy chance of cashing on yesterday's slate. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about that weather report for today overall. So we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Brewers and the Cincinnati Reds out in Cincinnati. That has a 79% chance of rain, so that's one that we'll definitely be watching throughout the day. Then we'll move down to the Padres and the Cubs out in San Diego, 0% chance there, so not worried there whatsoever. Then out in New York for the Yankees and the Marlins, 18% chance there, so nothing too crazy at this point in time. In Boston, we got a 37% chance between the Red Sox and the Orioles, but that should be one that ultimately ends up going off unless that weather gets worse throughout the day. Then we're going to keep moving down. We got the Atlanta Braves, 38% chance of rain, going against the New York Mets in Atlanta. It's kind of been right around where that weather's been, seems like all week for Atlanta, but should be good to go once again. In Kansas City, we got 17% chance of rain. So not too worried there, but we'll keep an eye out on it as the day moves along. And then in Texas, they already got it listed as the dome, so it looks like they do plan on having that roof closed at least early on today. And that's all we got for the weather report for today. So a couple other weather spots here and there throughout the day. Chance of rain in a lot of different spots, but doesn't look like anything major at this point in time. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks for today. Once again, it is going to be one pitcher and 4 hitters overall. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position with Cody Bradford. Off to a pretty good start this season. He was a guy that we weren't sure whether or not he was going to have a rotation spot, but due to all the injuries in the Rangers rotation, he has got into the rotation and stuck there and done pretty well so far. So he has very little history versus the Oakland A's in the past. He only pitched 1 inning in relief versus them last season, but it is the Oakland A's at the end of the day. Still not one of the greatest lineups in baseball. I like Bradford. I like his upside tonight overall. If he can do what he did last time out versus the Houston Astros, should be able to do pretty similar versus the Oakland A's tonight. And then we're going to move down to second baseman Marcus Semien. He is 3 for 7 versus Ross Stripling, who is the expected starting pitcher for the Oakland A's tonight. And he is $3,700. Kind of a weird year for Marcus Semien. So he's got hits in 6 of 11 games so far this year, but all 6 games that he does have hits all have been multi-hit games. So looking like a little boom bust with him. You might get the hope game. You might give it the 2 or 3 hit game, but definitely do like his upside tonight. Pretty decent matchup going against Ross Stripling. If you want to stack some other Texas Rangers bats alongside him, you can definitely do that as well. Although I will say some of the guys that did have the better history versus Ross Stripling are the guys that are on IL currently for Texas, unfortunately. Then we're going to move down to shortstop with Willy Adames. He's $3,000. He's going against the Cincinnati Reds tonight. Hunter Green on the mound. He is 3 for 9 with 2 home runs versus him in his career. So some pretty good history there. Ultimately, whether or not this game goes off is probably going to be the biggest question for Willy Adames tonight. But if that game goes off, Good hitting environment in Cincinnati. Great matchup versus Hunter Green. He's got hits in 7 out of his 10 games so far this season. 3 of them have been multi-hit games. He's got 2 home runs on the season as well. Not a lot of RBIs so far, though, so hopefully that starts to change tonight, but definitely do like his upside tonight in a very favorable matchup. And then I just got to throw it out there because it seems like every time with Willy Adames, sometimes he looks really good. We play him in the core play. He'll go for 4. If he goes 0 for 4 tonight, just play him tomorrow because it seems like every time we put him in the core, he goes 0 for 4. The next day is the big day for him. Although the one time he was in the core so far this season, he did pay off in a pretty big way for us overall. Then we move down to the outfield. We got Yordan Alvarez, $4,300. So one of the more expensive guys on the slate overall, but in his career versus Seth Lugo, the expected starting pitcher for the Kansas City Royals tonight, 2 for 2 with 1 home run. So definitely do like the upside that he does present from that history. He started off the year really, really slow. But since then, he's got hits in 6 out of his last 7 games, and 4 of them have been multi-hit games, so the upside is through the roof. Once again, with Yordan Alvarez, seems to be healthy at this point in time, seeing the ball well, hitting the ball well. Would expect that to be the case once again tonight versus Seth Lugo and the Kansas City Royals. Then last but not least, we have Adam Duvall, who hasn't played too much this season, primarily going to be against lefties, which, something he's done pretty well versus in his career. And then tonight it's against Jose Quintana, who happens to be a left-handed pitcher. He's 3 for 8 with 2 home runs versus him in his career, so some pretty good history there. Like I said, Adam Duvall hasn't played too much this year, but the games that he has played in, he's got a hit in 3 out of the 4 that he's actually played in. So a little bit of upside there. Cheap value at $2,600. Potential for a home run there going against Jose Quintana. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But, kind of as a pay down option, definitely do like the upside that he could present overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $12,800 remaining. Exactly $3,200 remaining per player. So a little bit of room if you want to pay up for, another higher priced player, pay down at a couple other spots, or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, you can definitely do that as well. Once again, the hitters are on 4 different teams, so if you kind of want to mix and match a couple different stacks, throw these guys in as one-offs alongside those stacks, build out a different lineup, put some different stacks in, put some different one-offs from this core, you can definitely do that as well. And then obviously, once again with pitcher, you always want to rotate some of these pitchers just so you get as much exposure to them as possible. Obviously, on my cheat sheet, I got a couple of different guys there. Cody Bradford's in the middle price range. We got Dylan Cease on the high end. I put Alan Weens down in the low end just because he did have the one good start versus the Mets last season, but we'll see how that works out today. And the Mets haven't been hitting the ball the greatest overall. So hopefully that's one that's beneficial for him at $5,500. But with that being said, since we're talking about this cheat sheet, let's get moved over there on the Sports Affiliation website and talk about my top GPP teams to stack from that cheat sheet overall. So the top teams that I do have to stack for today are going to be the Atlanta Braves going against Jose Quintana. Some of these guys have hit him pretty well in the past. Adam Duvall's a big one. Ozzie Albies is going to be another one. Obviously, you got guys that hit left-handed pitching pretty well in Austin Riley and Marcell Ozuna. And then, obviously, if you want to get to like some Ronald Acuna Jr., some Orlando Arcia, you can definitely do that as well. Travis d'Arnaud, you could probably throw in there too. He typically hits left-handed pitching pretty well, although he's off to kind of a slow start to the season. Then we're going to move down to the Baltimore Orioles. They have hit Cutter Crawford pretty well in the past. It's a little bit of limited history, but Crawford's pitching better this year, so we'll kind of see how this all shakes out. But I still do like into some Baltimore Orioles stacks just in general. And, they're potentially a team that's not drawing a ton of ownership, so that could be a way to get different on tonight's slate overall. Then we have the Houston Astros going against Seth Lugo. Obviously, we highlighted Yordan Alvarez already. Alex Bregman's got some decent history there as well. Victor Caratini, if he gets the start, I know he's catcher eligible and it takes up a first base catcher spot. He's 3 for 4 versus Seth Lugo in his career. Maybe if you're watching this video, if you also play on DraftKings, maybe he's a guy that you get to over there if he ultimately gets the start, because on DraftKings you do have to play a catcher. And then last but not least, we have the Padres going against Kyle Hendricks. And kind of the guys that stand out here, Jake Cronenworth is going to be a big one, Manny Machado. And then Kyle Yoshioka, probably mispronouncing his name, the backup catcher for the Padres, actually hit Hendricks pretty well in his career. A very small sample size, does have a home run and a couple hits for him, though. If he ends up starting, he's a guy we could throw in that first base last catcher spot. Or, if you're listening once again and you also play on DraftKings, you still need to fill out that catcher spot. That could be another guy of interest as well. But with that being said, that's pretty much what I do have for today in terms of the recap, the weather report, the core picks, and the top stacks. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. If you have any questions related to MLB DFS whatsoever, feel free to drop them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then with that being said, if there's any other major updates, if there's any updates to the core, I'll leave that down below, as well as many starting lineups as I can get to throughout the late afternoon and early evening. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit more today. I know I've been kind of slacking the past couple of days. Monday we had a baseball game. Yesterday got a little bit busy as well. So do apologize for that once again. But, if you ever have any doubts about starting lineups, if it's one that I haven't posted yet and you have a question about, go over to RotoWire, check out the MLB daily lineups over there. They have all the starting lineups as well. So just kind of a good reference point just in general. If it's something that I'm slacking on or a day that I'm kind of slacking, I know tomorrow will be a little bit busier because we do have a baseball game as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. And then I will be doing the UFL DFS video for week number 3 this week. That will either be coming out tomorrow or on Friday, so definitely be looking out for that. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you're a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match on your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.